Mary is a beautiful young woman with sharp reflexes and a kind heart, but her latest mission is anything but ordinary. Disguised as a lifelike robot maid, she must serve a man who despises humans more than anything in the world. That man is Arthur, a wealthy and cold genius who trusts no one after years of betrayal. To survive beside him, Marie has to hide her true identity and act like the perfect machine. The story begins with Arthur, a wealthy and cold man, sitting bored in his office. He's a man who doesn't trust anyone, especially humans. But then Roy, his loyal assistant, walks in to introduce a new creation, Mary, the latest robot maid model. Arthur's interest immediately sparks. He stands up, inspecting the invention closely. Impressed by the craftsmanship, he praises Roy for creating something so lifelike, but says he still needs to test it himself. Just as he's about to take a closer look, a clock on the wall suddenly explodes, filling the entire office with smoke. Chaos breaks out, people rush around trying to find a fire extinguisher, but Arthur doesn't move. His eyes stay locked on Mary. While everyone panics, she stands perfectly still, showing no reaction at all. That's when Arthur decides, yes, she really is a machine. No human could stay that calm in such a moment. Then, out of nowhere, he turns on one of the nearby maids, accusing her of planting the bomb. His guards immediately grab her and drag her away, no questions asked. Arthur then orders his men to hunt down a spy he believes is watching them from a nearby rooftop and to remove the hidden wiretap under his desk. Watching his subordinates move to carry out the orders, Arthur can't help but mutter how much he despises humans, their deceit, their greed, their constant scheming. Moments later, Roy returns, holding gifts and a bouquet of white freesias. But the peace doesn't last long. A knife suddenly springs out from the flowers. Arthur doesn't even flinch. He just smirks bitterly, saying that humans are selfish creatures who will do anything to get ahead, even betray their own morals. That's exactly why he wanted a robot companion, someone he could finally trust. Arthur's hatred runs deep. Since childhood, his relatives have always targeted him, sending assassins, setting traps, all for his family fortune. He survived every attempt but lost all faith in people along the way. To him, the worst kind of person is someone who lies, and right beside him stands Mary, the robot maid, who's secretly a human martial artist in disguise. On the outside, she's calm and expressionless, but inside she's panicking. She didn't realize she was supposed to hide her human identity from Arthur, the one man who hates humans most of all. As Arthur steps closer, Mary freezes. She's convinced he's found out. But instead of calling her out, Arthur suddenly blushes. He starts gushing about how perfect she is, how remarkable her design feels up close. Mary, uncomfortable with how close he's standing, quickly says she'll start cleaning his room. But when he gently takes her hand and asks if he can call her Mary, she hesitantly agrees, still confused by the sudden softness in his tone. Later, in the break room, Roy reminds Marie of her duties as a robot maid. He informs her that she'll be accompanying Arthur to school for protection. But as he talks, he realizes Mary's barely listening because she's too busy stuffing her face with food. She explains with her mouth full that she's only allowed to eat when Arthur's bathing. Then, deciding that Arthur must be done by now, she rushes off, finishing Roy's share on the way and shouting for him to add more protein to her next meal. Roy sighs, worried that her little act might not hold up for long, and that if Arthur ever finds out, they'll both be dead. The next morning, Arthur is in his usual strict mode, scolding a butler for oversleeping. Mary watches, thinking that he's terrifying. But she also admits that everything he says always makes sense. When they finally get into the car, Arthur starts briefing her on their schedule. Listening carefully, Mary realizes that Arthur's days are packed, studying, managing the company, handling meetings. No wonder he's so tense all the time. While she sits there quietly, she notices that Arthur's tone softens whenever he talks to her. Suddenly, he takes her hand and leans closer. In a low voice, he says he's aware that her mission is to follow him at school and pretend to be human. Then he adds that if she's ever in trouble, she can always come to him. Mary nods silently, touched by his unexpected kindness. When they finally arrive at the academy, Marie can barely hide her excitement. The place is huge, filled with elegant buildings and award displays. She stops to admire the trophies. Almost all of them belong to Arthur. But before she can look too long, two male students bump into her and scold her for standing in the way. In her usual flat tone, she apologizes. The boys frown, offended by how robotic she sounds, thinking she's mocking them. Mary, of course, isn't pretending. That's just how she naturally speaks. Arthur soon appears, his presence instantly silencing the boys. He glares at them and tells them off for harassing his maid. The two quickly back off and leave. Mary thanks him, and Arthur gently pats her head, saying that her cold voice and emotionless face are adorable. For the first time, Mary feels a strange warmth in her chest. She's never been complimented like that before. That afternoon, they return home. The young man enters Arthur's office, greeting him casually. Roy quietly whispers to Mary that this is Maynard, Arthur's brother, by name at least. Mary wonders if this man is also one of the people trying to kill Arthur. The brothers greet each other politely, exchanging smiles, but beneath those smiles are hidden daggers. They speak kindly, yet both are silently cursing the other. Mary, completely oblivious, assumes they must be close siblings who get along really well. After a while, Maynard excuses himself to use the restroom. But in the hallway, he drops his act, muttering curses about how Arthur's still alive. That's when Mary suddenly appears behind him, pointing wordlessly toward the bathroom. Startled, Maynard snaps at her. When she apologizes in her flat tone, he scowls, accusing her of mocking him. Mary calmly explains that she's a robot and can't show emotion. Intrigued, Maynard inspects her closely, amazed at how lifelike she seems. He even admits Arthur has done well creating such a realistic robot, but he also mocks Arthur's tastes, saying Mary's expressionless face is dull. Mary quickly insists she can smile and uses her fingers to pull her lips into a forced grin so terrifying that Maynard runs away screaming. Later that night, Arthur sits alone in his office, gazing out at the fountain outside. His thoughts drift back to the day he decided to inherit the family business. The heavy weight of that decision still haunts him. Suddenly, Mary quietly enters, offering him a cup of tea. She notices his distant look and assumes she's interrupting. But Arthur surprises her by shyly asking if he can rest his head on her lap. After a pause, she agrees. He lies down, commenting that her lap feels hard because of her metal body. In truth, it's just her toned muscles. Relaxing, he admits how lonely his life has been, that he can't trust anyone, not even his own family. Still, he's accepted that loneliness as the price of being his father's heir. Moved by his honesty, Mary softly promises that she'll stay by his side and that he can always trust her. Arthur closes his eyes, comforted by her words, and drifts off to sleep. As she looks down at him, Mary silently vows to protect him, even if she has to keep lying. The next morning, Arthur, Roy, and Mary wait outside for the car to take him to his lecture. The car arrives a little early. Arthur gets in, waving goodbye. But moments later, another identical car pulls up. Roy freezes. That means the first one was fake. He tells Mary to call the police, but when he turns, she's already gone, sprinting down the road after the vehicle. Inside the car, Maynard climbs in, gloating. Arthur is tied up, and Maynard smugly tells him the kidnapping was his idea, all because he couldn't stand that weird maid. He laughs, saying Arthur won't be needing any maids after today. Arthur sighs in annoyance. It's the 168th time Maynard has tried to kill him. Suddenly, a loud thud shakes the car. Everyone looks up to see Mary clinging to the windshield, calmly announcing that she's come to retrieve Arthur. Panic erupts. Maynard yells at the driver to shake her off, insisting she's just a robot. But Mary lands safely on the ground and chases them at full speed. The car finally stops at an abandoned house. Maynard drags Arthur inside, mocking him one last time and asking for his final words. Arthur, however, doesn't respond to the threat. Instead, he's furious at how rough Maynard was with Mary. Maynard laughs at him for caring more about a machine than his own life. But then, Maynard suddenly hears his own voice playing back, confessing to the kidnapping. He turns, horrified as Arthur smirks. One of Arthur's buttons is a hidden camera. Everything has already been recorded and uploaded to the cloud. Realizing the damage, Maynard panics and flees, leaving two of his men to finish Arthur off. The men hesitate, but before they can act, Murray bursts through the door and takes them down in seconds. After freeing Arthur, they try to escape, but neither notices the spilled gasoline and the burning cigarette nearby. Within seconds, flames roar through the building, swallowing everything in sight. Mary reacts instantly. She realizes their only escape route is gone. Acting quick, she tells Arthur to cover his mouth with his handkerchief to keep from breathing in the thick smoke. Then she spots a window. Without wasting a second, she tells him to use it, saying she'll lift him up. But Arthur refuses. He doesn't want to leave her behind. Still, Mary insists, saying she'll be fine and will find another way out once he's safe. Suddenly, an explosion rocks the whole structure. The smoke thickens, the air burns in their lungs, and visibility drops to almost nothing. In that chaos, Mary makes a silent promise. No matter what happens, she'll make sure Arthur survives, even if it costs her everything. Knowing he'll never abandon her willingly, she decides to say what she's been holding back. She tells him that she's truly enjoyed her time with him, that to her, he's someone very special. Then she lies, saying he doesn't have to worry because her body's made of metal, so the fire won't hurt her. She urges him to go, saying she could just be rebooted later once she's repaired. Reluctantly, Arthur gives in. He climbs out through the window, shouting that he'll come back for her. Inside, Mary stays behind as the smoke thickens. Her systems falter and she collapses to the floor. Before everything goes dark, she feels a pang of guilt for lying to him, but also a deep sense of relief. At least she protected him until the very end. But then she opens her eyes. She's lying on a bed. Confused, she looks around and sees Arthur sitting right beside her. He explains that he called Roy the moment he escaped, and together and managed to save her in time. No reboot needed. Mary feels immense relief, even if her face doesn't show it. Arthur watches her quietly, tempted to ask about the faint smile she gave him back in the fire. But in the end, he decides not to. Arthur convinces himself that the smile was just a hallucination caused by the smoke. He tells himself it's foolish to fall for her anyway. After all, she's just a robot, and even if she weren't, someone like her could never love someone like him. On the day of Arthur's grand garden party, the entire mansion is buzzing with activity. Servants rush everywhere trying to finish last-minute preparations. But when Arthur inspects the setup, he finds several things still incomplete, even though the head servant had claimed everything was done. Furious, Arthur scolds him harshly, and since he hates liars, fires the man on the spot. Seeing the tension, Mary quickly jumps in to help. She fetches the missing chairs and organizes everything with perfect timing, earning Arthur's praise. Soon after, guests begin to arrive, their laughter and music filling the garden. Mary looks around in awe. Everyone present is a powerful or well-known figure. Arthur leans toward her and reminds her that this event is crucial. As his father's heir, he can afford even one mistake. Mary nods seriously and promises to watch for any suspicious people. Arthur agrees, but with a playful smirk adds that she has another important mission: to secretly remove all the bell peppers from the dishes because he hates them. Mary accepts the odd task wholeheartedly, but just then, Arthur's aunt, Charlotte, calls out to him. He greets her and her husband, Carl, warmly, which surprises Mary, since she thought all his relatives disliked him. Roy quietly explains that those two are the only family members who truly support Arthur. Charlotte notices that Arthur looks unusually cheerful and asks what happened. Arthur proudly says his company finally succeeded in creating the perfect robot maid and gestures toward Marie. Charlotte steps closer, intrigued, and begins examining Marie carefully. The closer she looks, the more human Marie seems. Feeling nervous, Marie stiffens and Roy quickly intervenes, claiming she has more chores to do. Mary immediately returns to work, pushing a cart stacked high with glasses and balancing plates at the same time, impressing everyone with her skill. But suddenly, Charlotte's cat jumps toward the cart. In a flash, Mary catches the cat midair while steadying the glasses. The guests gasp and Carl praises her reflexes. Roy calmly explains that she's equipped with advanced shock absorbers and the guests seem satisfied. Meanwhile, Mary discreetly fulfills Arthur's bell pepper request by eating them before the dishes reach the tables. At that same time, an intruder sneaks past the security guards. Before he can move another step, Marie appears out of nowhere and knocks him unconscious. To be safe, she continues patrolling the grounds. Then suddenly, she senses someone behind her. Reacting on instinct, she flips the figure over her shoulder, and to her horror, it's Arthur. Embarrassed, she helps him up and escorts him back to his office. Arthur admits he just wanted a break from all the small talk. Exhausted, he sits down and rests his head on her lap. Mary hesitates, then gently pats his head. But suddenly, Arthur grabs her hand, pulls himself upright, and softly thanks her. Startled, Mary quickly steps back and excuses herself, saying she should return to work. Arthur watches her go, a little disappointed. Unnoticed, Charlotte has witnessed the whole thing, and her suspicions that Mary might not be a real robot grow stronger. Back in the garden, Mary tries to calm her fast-beating heart, confused by her own reactions. Roy orders her to serve water, but she's too distracted. She drops a glass, then spills an entire pitcher on Roy. Sighing, he tells her to take a break before she causes real trouble. Feeling embarrassed, Marie wanders to a quiet corner of the estate. But as she turns the corner, she spots a man crouched down, planting something under a bush. Realizing it's a bomb, she lunges forward, smashes the detonator, and kicks the man straight through the bushes and into the middle of the garden. Guests scream in panic as Mary bursts through the greenery, dragging the unconscious man with her. But Arthur steps up immediately, announcing that the man was an intruder who planned to blow up the estate and that Marie saved everyone. The crowd erupts into applause. Carl praises her, while Charlotte quietly remarks that maybe Mary is the one who'll teach Arthur to trust people again. Meanwhile, high above, a furious Maynard, Arthur's rival, watches the celebration from the roof. As he curses Arthur's success, he slips and falls off the building. Later that night, Arthur stands on his balcony, gazing over the glowing garden lights. Marie appears wearing the elegant dress he had chosen for her. He smiles, takes her hand, and invites her to enjoy the rest of the evening. But Mary nervously pulls back and apologizes for almost ruining the party. Arthur shakes his head, saying she worked harder than anyone and even got rid of all the bell peppers just for him. His warm tone makes Mary freeze. For the first time, she feels something stir inside her, a wish to stay by his side forever. Arthur, unaware of her feelings, muses aloud that it must be nice being a robot, no need to eat or sleep. Curious, he asks how she recharges. Panicking, Mary blurts out that she runs on double the batteries. Somehow, Arthur believes her, smiling as he tells her she looks more like a real girl tonight. Then before she can react, he leans in and kisses her forehead. Flustered, Mary shoves him away and runs out, terrified he might have realized she's human. Outside, Roy sees her flee but says nothing, his face clouded with worry. The next morning, Marie steels herself for another day. She tells herself that Arthur probably didn't notice anything last night. When she enters the dining room, Arthur greets her cheerfully, acting as if nothing happened. She stays quiet, unsure how to respond. Then, as a fly buzzes past, both of them reach to catch it at the same time. Their faces end up inches apart. Arthur blushes while Mary stiffly straightens up, pretending to move robotically again. Arthur just laughs quietly, clearly confused by her behavior. Mary quietly notes that Arthur is acting strange today, but he only instructs her to bring coffee to his study. When she does, he keeps watching her closely. Throughout the day, Arthur acts unusually kind, offering to help carry things and even reaching from her hand. Worried he might notice something, Marie decides to behave more like a machine, but her stiff, awkward movements only leave Arthur staring at her in confusion. Later, Roy calls her aside. His face is serious. He tells her that she's being relieved of her duties immediately. He explains that Arthur has been growing suspicious of her since the previous day, and it's only a matter of time before her secret is exposed. Mary freezes, shocked and speechless. Roy gently tells her that he'll still look after her, but she must leave before Arthur discovers the truth. Mary struggles to accept it. She doesn't want to leave because she has grown fond of Arthur. Desperate, she begs Roy to let her stay, promising that she'll be careful not to get caught. But Roy reminds her that Arthur truly likes her, and if he ever finds out she's human, it will destroy him. He also points out that Arthur hates being lied to, and that pretending must be hurting Marie too. She realizes he's right and cannot argue. Roy then explains that he's already arranged for a replacement, a real robot maid. Moments later, the new model, Marie 2, rolls through the halls with smooth mechanical precision until it reaches Arthur's study. It introduces itself as an upgraded version of Mary and immediately shows off its abilities by catching and disposing of a fly in midair. Arthur stares in disbelief as Roy proudly explains that Mary 2 has stronger combat systems and higher efficiency, making her the perfect servant. Meanwhile, the real Marie quietly packs her few belongings. In the study, Arthur tests Marie 2's lap pillow function, which even plays calming background music. At the mansion gates, Roy urges Marie to leave quickly before Arthur notices. She promises to return her uniform after washing it, but Roy tells her to keep it. Still, Mary insists it's a symbol of everything she's losing, a reminder that she never truly belonged by Arthur's side. Just as she's about to leave, Arthur appears, looking confused and angry. He demands to know why she's being replaced. Mary keeps her voice calm and says that since a newer model exists, it's only right for her to step aside. But Arthur doesn't believe her. His frustration grows as he tries to explain that he doesn't want a replacement, he wants her. Before he can say more, Mary 2 suddenly steps forward. Its sensors detect Mary and label her as a threat. Mary shouts for Roy and Arthur to move away as the robot lunges. She blocks the first attack but is thrown back by its overwhelming strength. Realizing she can't win, Mary braces herself for the final strike, but Arthur dives in front of her, taking the hit on his back. Roy shouts in panic. Fueled by fear and anger, Mary gathers all her strength and delivers a powerful kick that splits Mary 2 clean in half. The robot collapses to the ground. Arthur rushes to Mary's side, his voice full of worry. He tells her that he already knows everything. Roy freezes, thinking their secret is exposed, but Arthur completely misunderstands. He believes Mary malfunctioned and that Roy built Mary 2 to replace her. Arthur insists he can cover Mary's repair costs and begs her to stay. Wanting to remain by his side, Mary quickly lies that she's already fixed. Arthur smiles with relief, lifts her into his arms, and asks her to stay with him forever. Mary softly admits she wants that too. For a moment, everything feels peaceful and warm. Later, in the kitchen, Roy thanks Marie for everything she's done. He's happy to see Arthur smile again, something he hasn't done in a long time. Mary promises to keep working hard and to avoid any mistakes that might reveal her secret. Suddenly, a faint mechanical sound fills the room. Mary turns and sees Mary 2 standing there, shining and fully repaired. The robot politely says it has been updated and looks forward to working together. Roy explains that he wants both of them to protect Arthur. Mary 2 nods politely, but Marie can only stare silently, unsure what to feel as she faces the real machine version of herself. A few days later, a group of men disguised as servants secretly meet inside the manor. Their plan? To assassinate Arthur. But before they can act, Mary and her twin Marie 2 catch them red-handed. The men try to run, but Marie 2 quickly throws a net, trapping them all at once. Meanwhile, in another estate, Maynard, Arthur's rival, grits his teeth in anger. He's running out of assassins to send after Arthur and can't believe they keep failing. Back at the manor, Arthur is completely unaware of all this. He's lying down peacefully with his head resting on Mary's lap, mumbling about how unreliable humans are. To him, the only one he can truly depend on is Marie, who he still believes is just a robot. Nearby, Mary 2 is already starting her recharging process. Arthur suddenly remembers that Mary also needs to recharge. Smiling softly, he hands her a double of battery, saying it's her favorite type. Curious, he asks how she recharges and says he'd like to watch. Panic hits Marie immediately because she has no idea how to fake recharge. Desperate, she just pops the battery into her mouth and pretends. Roy, who's watching from the doorway, is sure she's about to blow her cover. But then Arthur smiles and mutters how cute she looks while recharging. Roy sighs, realizing how ridiculously clueless Arthur can be when it comes to Marie. Later, Arthur complains to Roy that security around the manor feels too loose lately. Roy explains it's probably because Arthur keeps firing people on impulse. He suggests that Arthur take a break, reminding him that his father also used to rest from time to time, though he skips the part about his father spending those breaks with women. Arthur actually takes the advice seriously and suddenly turns to Mary, asking if she has a lover mode. Mary freezes completely while both Arthur and Roy wait for her response. Soon after, Mary finds herself out in town with Arthur, pretending to be his lover. It's awkward from the start. She robotically says she loves him, thinking she messed up, but Arthur secretly finds it adorable. He tells her to stop calling him master and use his name instead. It takes a lot of effort, but when she finally manages to call him by his name, his heart practically skips a beat. As they walk together, Mary remembers her teacher's advice that to become strong, one must learn from the strong. She decides that to become a perfect lover, she must learn from real couples. Then she spots one nearby, a girl inviting her boyfriend for tea. Thinking it's a good idea, Mary copies her and invites Arthur to have tea too. They even end up at the same cafe as the couple. Inside, Mary keeps observing them closely. When the girl hugs her boyfriend, Marie decides to imitate it, but ends up squeezing Arthur way too hard, almost crushing him. Once they sit down, she apologizes but continues watching. Then seeing the girl feed her boyfriend a snack, Marie does the same. Arthur blushes but finds her effort cute. He even feeds her back, but since she's a robot, he gives her a battery instead. Everyone around them gasps, thinking it's some weird act of abuse. After leaving the cafe, Mary keeps watching the same couple. She sees the girl give her boyfriend a small gift and reasons that it must be another sign of love. But when the couple kisses, Mary quickly decides that's one thing she definitely shouldn't imitate. Instead, she picks a 4-leaf clover from the grass and hands it to Arthur, saying it's a gift that brings happiness. Arthur stays quiet, and Mary worries she did something wrong. But then he smiles and tells her that sincerity matters more than how fancy the gift is. As they walk through the park, Arthur notices many couples holding hands and hesitantly asks if they can do the same. Gently, he shows her how. Mary follows his lead, feeling strange but calm. Hearing someone nearby mention how many couples there are today, she starts wondering if Arthur will someday meet a real woman who can make him happy. By nightfall, Arthur brings her to an old church he used to visit with his parents. The air feels quiet and nostalgic. Then, out of nowhere, Arthur asks if he can kiss her. Mary freezes. Her face stays blank, but inside her mind is racing. Just as Arthur leans in, she spots something, a projectile flying straight toward them. Without thinking, she grabs Arthur and pulls him out of the way just in time. On the roof, she spots a figure, Noah, a skilled assassin. Arthur tries to follow, but she tells him to stay put and leaps up to confront the intruder. Noah, however, seems more interested in her than in his mission. He casually asks if she's Arthur's girlfriend, but Mary insists she's only his attendant. They fight, and Mary quickly realizes how powerful he is, fast, calm, and precise. When Arthur calls out to her, she turns for a split second, and Noah appears right behind her, saying he likes her before pushing her off the roof. Mary plummets toward the ground, but Arthur catches her just in time. She apologizes for letting Noah escape and blames herself for failing both as protector and lover. But Arthur surprises her by gently kissing her cheek, saying their real kiss can wait until she's in lover mode again. Mary warns that she can't use that mode too often, it drains too much battery. Arthur's smile fades, and he quietly calls Roy to take them home. The next day at school, Mary can't stop thinking about Noah. She swears to herself that next time she'll finish what he started. But her thoughts are cut short when the teacher introduces a new transfer student, none other than Noah himself. Outside, Maynard smirks, hoping Noah will finally succeed this time. Back in class, Noah charms everyone instantly, especially the girls. Mary, however, quickly leaves the room to find Arthur and warn him. But before she gets far, Noah appears beside her and invites her to his welcome party. Mary immediately attacks him, but Noah easily dodges her moves. With a chilling smile, Noah says that people fear her because she shows no emotion. He grabs her face, saying he wants to see it twist with pain, and admits he fell for her the moment they met. Mary breaks free, disgusted. When she demands to know what he's after, he reveals files and photos of her secret past, evidence that should have been erased long ago. He says uncovering her secret was his gift to her. She feels sick at his words. When she asks what he really wants, he simply says to get along. Just then, Arthur arrives, demanding to know what Noah is doing with Mary. Startled, Noah casually says that they were just looking at photos, and Marie, panicking, hurriedly plays along. To make things worse, Noah rests a hand on her shoulder and smugly claims that she must prefer him over Arthur. Arthur's anger explodes and he orders Noah to take his hand off her, declaring that Mary clearly dislikes him. Noah then turns to Mary and asks if that's true, and she quickly explains that she just wants to stay on good terms with him since he holds important information. Hearing that, Noah grins and boldly declares that Mary now belongs to him. Arthur's patience finally snaps and he challenges Noah to a duel with Marie as the prize. However, before they can fight, chaos suddenly erupts as a group of chickens from the research lab come running past them. Seeing a chance, Noah suddenly snaps his fingers, saying he's got a great idea for their duel. Whoever catches the most escaped chickens wins. Arthur agrees right away, and the contest begins. Arthur catches one almost instantly. A few girls nearby see it and start whispering about how cool and skilled he looks. But Arthur doesn't care about the attention at all. He just says that animals are way more trustworthy than humans. Hearing that, Mary starts to worry quietly, wondering just how deep his distrust for people really goes. After gently putting the chicken into a cart that already has two others, Arthur turns to Mary. When she offers to help, he simply tells her to let him protect her this time. The girls watching them from afar practically melt at how caring he sounds and how gentle he is with her. Then a panicked chicken clucks nearby and Arthur immediately runs off to catch it. Meanwhile, Noah takes a very different approach. Instead of running around by himself, he starts asking other students to help him find and catch the rest. Mary yells that he's cheating, but Noah just shrugs it off and reminds everyone that they never actually made any rules against asking for help. Before long, he spots 3 chickens hiding together. At the moment he gets close, they scatter in every direction. Watching this, Mary can't help but think that even the animals can sense just how unstable Noah really is, no matter how charming he pretends to be. Then Noah pulls out one of his assassin tools, yeah, seriously, and manages to catch all 3 chickens in one smooth move, tying Arthur's score. Right after that, the student runs up and says there's another chicken in the garden near the cafeteria. Noah rushes there, but when he arrives, Arthur's already chasing the same chicken. The tension between them is so intense that even the chicken freaks out and dashes into a thick bush where it's almost impossible to see. Arthur loses sight of it, but Noah spots it right away with his sharp eyes and takes off running. Arthur follows close behind. He's not about to lose now. Mary, watching from a distance, starts to panic. She doesn't want Arthur to fall behind, so she climbs up a tree to get a better view. From up there, she starts shouting directions to help him. But just as she points out the chicken's hiding spot, snap, the branch breaks and she falls straight into the lake below. Arthur doesn't even hesitate. He forgets about the chicken and dives right in after her. Noah pauses for a moment, looking between the chicken and where Arthur ran, clearly torn. Under the water, Mary sinks helplessly until Arthur reaches her and pulls her back to shore. He lays her gently on the grass, panicking and calling out that he'll get Roy to repair her right away. Even though her eyes are closed, Mary can hear how terrified he sounds and feel his hands shaking. She feels guilty for being careless, but deeply touched by how much he cares. Then one of Arthur's tears falls on her cheek, and she opens her eyes, softly telling him that she's fine. At that exact moment, someone announces that Noah caught the final chicken. He walks over, holding it in his arms. But instead of bragging, he surprises everyone. He says Arthur is the real winner because he gave up the contest to save what truly mattered to him. With that, Noah walks away and Arthur and Mary quietly return to the manor. Roy scolds Marie for being reckless, but in the end, it's Arthur who collapses and falls ill instead. That night, everything spiraled out of control. After the school incident, Roy completely snapped. Furious that Arthur caught a cold while saving Mary, he cornered her and jokingly threatened to kill her. Marie had been hiding her biggest secret all along. She wasn't a robot, but a human pretending to be one. No one had ever uncovered her past, so she managed to live quietly among them. But when Roy confronted her, even he was shocked. He let her go and muttered that it was impossible. After all, he personally erased every trace of her existence. Still, Mary stayed calm. She said the only thing that mattered now was helping Arthur recover, promising to serve him with everything she had. Intrigued, Roy told her to follow him. He said he had something that might help Arthur heal. He showed her a small case, something Arthur's father once used whenever he got sick. Roy admitted he didn't actually know what was inside, but it supposedly worked every time. Later that evening, Mary found Arthur sitting in his study, still trying to work despite his fever. He looked pale and exhausted, typing on his laptop. She tried to take it away, insisting he rest, but he refused. He said he couldn't stop. There were student council reports waiting, and people were counting on him. Then he started coughing hard, nearly collapsing. Mary pleaded again, but Arthur shook his head. He said he was chosen to lead and had to live up to that trust. His voice was weak, but his determination left Mary speechless. As he stumbled out to grab some papers, she realized she had no choice. She opened the nursing case. Inside wasn't medicine, but a nurse's uniform. Mary stared at it, confused. But if it worked for Arthur's father, she'd try it too. Moments later, Arthur turned around and froze. Mary stood there in the outfit, blushing slightly but determined. Arthur could barely process what he was seeing. Maybe it was the fever, or maybe this was some sort of nursing mode. Either way, he didn't resist when Mary guided him to his room and pushed him gently onto the bed. She pressed her forehead against his to check his temperature. Arthur blushed and nervously asked how she could do that. It seemed so human. Mary caught herself and quickly covered it up, claiming she had a temperature sensor on her forehead. She told him his fever was still high and offered to wipe the sweat off. Arthur quietly removed his shirt and told her to go ahead. Mary reminded herself she was only doing her duty. But as she wiped his back, she froze. His skin was covered in scars. Arthur explained that he hated people seeing them because they reminded him of things he wanted to forget. Gently, Mary hugged him from behind and promised that as long as she served him, she'd never let him be hurt again. Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't let him see. Arthur's heart pounded. Maybe it was just the fever, but he didn't want her to let go. That fragile peace didn't last. That same night, 2 assassins broke into the estate. They thought Arthur would be an easy target since he was ill, but Marie appeared behind them before they could act. A second later, Mary kicked him so hard he hit the floor unconscious. The other lunged at her, but she used a nearby ornament to knock him out too. When she returned, she apologized to Arthur for the noise, assuring him that all threats had been eliminated. Arthur smiled faintly, took her hand, and said he felt at peace knowing she was there. She was the only one he could show his weakness to. He admitted that even though he despised lies, he sometimes pretended to be strong for others. Mary's chest tightened because she was lying to him, but she couldn't bear to leave his side. Meanwhile, Maynard was meeting with Noah. He'd been searching for him all evening, only for Noah to sneak up and startle him. Annoyed, Maynard swung a club, saying he brought it just because Noah always scared him. Once he calmed down, he asked if Noah had the item. Noah casually tossed him Arthur's phone. Maynard smashed it immediately, ensuring the video evidence inside would never be seen. Noah grinned, saying that now they could kill Arthur freely, but Maynard stopped him. He wanted Arthur alive because he wanted the pleasure of killing him himself. A few days later, Arthur finally recovered. It was time for Karmhai's anniversary party, a costume event this year. Arthur opened with a speech, thanking everyone for coming. Mary watched from the crowd, relieved to see him healthy again. After his speech, Arthur walked up to her, smiling warmly. He asked if she was tired, then handed her a few AA batteries so she could recharge whenever she felt low on energy. Mary smiled and accepted them, even though she didn't need them at all. Then Noah arrived wearing a vampire costume and boasting about how everyone loved it. When he saw Marie dressed as a maid, he immediately hugged her. Arthur's patience snapped. He glared at Noah and asked the nearest guests if they had anything he could hit him with. Before things got worse, a senator called for Arthur's attention. Arthur sighed and excused himself, telling Marie he needed to entertain the guest. Noah, left behind, quickly grew bored and wandered off toward the food tables. Mary decided to follow him. Something about him didn't feel right. She spotted someone in a vampire costume and scolded him, thinking it was Noah. But when the student turned around, he looked confused. He said Noah had given him the outfit, and that other students were wearing the same one too. Mary's stomach dropped. Noah had planned this. He disguised himself among the crowd. She immediately called Roy for help. Roy told her to follow his tracking directions to find Arthur. Meanwhile, Arthur was talking to the senator when Noah struck. Out of nowhere, he injected Arthur with a sedative. Arthur collapsed almost instantly. The senator panicked and ran away, leaving Arthur and Noah alone. But before Noah could drag him off, Arthur pulled out a taser and shocked him. The hit landed, but Noah's gloves conducted the current, reducing the impact. They fought briefly, but Arthur's senses were fading fast. Noah explained the injection dulled vision and hearing. Most people would be begging by now, but Arthur still tried to fight. Amused, Noah gave him another dose, finally knocking him out. Noah crouched beside him and said that second injection wasn't even meant for him. It was for Marie. He'd hoped to take them both alive. Moments later, Marie arrived following Arthur's tracker. She found the room empty, except for another door. As she approached, a knife slashed at her throat. Noah's ambush. She dodged and kicked back, forcing him to retreat. He smirked, saying he was glad she'd gotten stronger. Mary said she retrained herself just to defeat him. Laughing, Noah said he'd fight seriously too. Their battle erupted, fast and brutal. He joked that they'd make a great pair of killers, but Mary snapped that she already had a master. Eventually, Noah pinned her down and started choking her. He said he loved her and that she could be happy with him. Mary refused. She noticed his right hand trembling and used that weakness to break free, dashing into the shadows. Grabbing one of the AA batteries Arthur gave her, she hurled it at the chandelier, shattering it and plunging the room into darkness. But Noah only grinned. You could see in the dark. He swung his chain whip and pulled a figure close, only to realize it wasn't Marie. Mary's clone, Marie too, snapped the chain and punched him down. The real Marie thanked her counterpart and rushed to find Arthur. She found him weak but alive and helped him stand. As they tried to escape, Noah appeared again, barely standing, covered in blood. Marie froze when she saw Mary too shattered on the floor. Noah mocked her, saying he knew she loved Arthur, but that it would never work. Arthur loved the robot Mary, not the human she truly was. He told her she'd always been hated and shunned, destined to be unloved. Before Mary could react, Arthur suddenly covered her ears, telling her not to listen. Even Noah was shocked. Arthur shouldn't have been able to move after those drugs. Struggling to stay on his feet, Arthur faced Noah and ordered him to fight him directly. Mary was overwhelmed. He was protecting her. Again, fueled by emotion, she jumped between them and struck Noah down, whispering that she'd always stay by Arthur's side. When Mary gets back to Arthur's side, she finds him already unconscious. She looks at him for a moment, remembering how he always pushes himself just to protect her. That's when she realizes how much he cared for her. In a quiet voice, she confesses her love to him, even though he can't hear her. After everything that happened, Mary goes back to school. The class immediately notices that Noah isn't there, and Mary knows the reason. It's because of the near-fatal wound she gave him. But the shock hits her when she steps out of the classroom and sees Noah standing right in front of her, wrapped in heavy bandages. Noah tells her to relax. With injuries like his, he can't do any assassination work anyway. Instead, he asks if she can really keep pretending now that she understands her own feelings. He warns her that love built on lies never ends well, and leans in and whispers that she can always run to him if she needs to. Arthur suddenly shows up nearby, and Noah greets him like nothing strange is going on. He claims he fell, got hurt, and just heard Arthur was attacked too. Arthur gives him a suspicious look and says he remembers hearing Noah's voice during the attack. Noah brushes it off, saying Arthur must have imagined it, and walks away. Mary steps closer to Arthur and notices he's oddly cheerful. Arthur smiles and says it's because he had a really good dream while he was unconscious, and he hopes that one day that dream will come true. That marks the end of today's Anime recap. If you enjoyed the video and want more of it, please support the channel by leaving a like and subscribe. Let's help us reach a current goal of 10K subscribers.